I did start recording, didn't I? Yes, I did.
Oh, where's my mouse gone? There it is. Yeah, I'm recording.
Lovely. Let me flick back to that screen, and we should be live on the old
YouTube
internet.
seems to think we are.
Let me click on that, and then have to mute it quickly. Oh no, I left it muted from last month.
I didn't.
What a clever young man. Hello, everyone. Well, not that there's anyone watching live just yet, apart from me. But I bet there's a few thousand listening later, so that's good. You've got me and Random. We may have a Scott join us at some point. We may have a COVID-riddled Sparkle join us at some point. We're not quite sure yet. We shall see. What video is going out? Let me see. There we are. Look at my new picture I made. Look at that. Isn't
It's
it
the same
clever?
picture at the moment.
It will be for about 7 seconds. And then I do that and look.
Oh,
How clever is
Norks.
that? Look, I'm on there. And her fingers even overlay it.
Wow.
I know. I know.
I was going to say a boob nearly overlays it, but it doesn't quite.
Not quite. I made that a pixel short.
Probably get thrown off YouTube if you had a little nipple protrusion.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know how I do it for the money. So there you go. Look at that wonderful display. So if I turn my video off, I go back to that, and then we'll go back to that, and then you can see me and Random. So what have we been up to this month? Well, a couple of weeks ago, I went down to Adie's for the weekend. Went down the Friday. We had beers and video games in his garage. I went down. Another friend of his called Dion went. And we went out for some food and beer, and then got back to Adie's bar in his garage. And a couple of locals joined us, Nick and Dean, and we played video games, listened to CDs, and drank some Lord Conrad's beer. And then Saturday, we went out into Cambridge. We went to, I can't remember its actual name now, but it was a museum with steam engines and gas engines and coal fires and all that wonderful stuff. It was
So
well,
the bus stop.
pardon?
The transport interchange.
Not quite. It was no, it wasn't transport related. It was actually the steam engines that used to pump the sewage out of Cambridge.
All right. Now they just let it roam around the
They don't
streets.
bother anymore.
Yeah.
They've got a river. That's all they need. So we did that, and then we went into Cambridge after that, spent 2 or 3 hours there, then went into Cambridge for beers and food, and the Goobert met us after work.
Whoa.
First time I've seen the Goobert in years. Literally years. So, yeah, we had a good time. Then Sunday, got up, went and had breakfast, and then drove home. So that was that weekend. I've been going back. I can't remember if I said this last month or not. Maybe I said it in WhatsApp. I've been going back through some of our old interviews. 100 and something of them, 140, 130, something like that. And I've been going listening to through the old ones. And there's some good stuff in there, definitely. If you're new to the show and you've not heard some of the old interviews, go back and give them a listen. There's some great stuff in there. Great anecdotes, great people we talked about, great technical detail. And I've only got about a dozen left, something like that. I am shortly going to pick up a Pi 400, which is the keyboard-based Raspberry Pi for mainly emulation, but also for some dicking about with. But I've been spending every so often the last few weeks scraping the games for them. What have I done? I've done the Dragon 32. I've done the Commodore 64. I've done the Apple II. Well, I'm almost finished the Apple II. I've done the Amstrad CPC, and then I'm going to do the Spectrum. I've got an image of Amoebian from Adie, so I'm looking to use that for some computer emulation. What surprised me, though, was that there's no BBC Micro emulator on RetroPie. I know you can run one on RetroArch, so maybe there's a way to backdoor it if you like. I've not got that far into looking into that yet, but just surprised me that there's no BBC Micro on there, yet you've got stuff like the Tandy and things like that. You would have thought maybe the BBC would have been done before that, perhaps, but
Maybe.
anyway. But that's about it for me, I think. Not too much else going on.
Yeah, I've not been doing a lot. Been a bit rough this month, so rather than going to ADs, I spent about 10 days laid up on the sofa, not really moving very far, so didn't really play much retro-y. Got into Red Dead Redemption 2 because I figured that's probably, my mate had given it to me a while ago, and I figured that's probably a game that suits just lying back on the sofa, just roaming around and cowboy and shit. So that's been all right. Although I have played quite a lot of Rogue Legacy as well on the Vita, which isn't terribly exactly retro, but it's a 2D pixel side-scrolling action platformer with a sort of a roguelike base to it. So it's, you know, you're doing multiple runs and dying and unlocking upgrades with the currency that you earn. That's been pretty good, and I again wanted to put more time into playing around with the RGB Pi cable that I got, but instead got sidetracked again with the Saturn. Did a playthrough finally of Burning Rangers. It was all right. I don't think it's worth the money. Definitely not worth the money it commands these days. And I'm not entirely sure I like anything that Yuji Naka's done outside of Choo Choo Rocket. I'm starting to think that maybe all of his games aren't really that great. Not bad per se, but well, some of them are. But yeah, maybe not the greatest auteur that he's often made out to be. So yeah, did a bit of that and pissed about a bit with Need for Speed on the Saturn as well, which turns out it's just quite dull. And yeah, dicked about with some other driving games. Messed about with Highway 2000 for a while. Dipped into Daytona a bit. Tried to get back into Sega Touring Car again. You gave me another. Was it that or Manx TT you gave me?
I think it was Manx TT.
Turned out I already had them both anyway. So look for that in an upcoming prize giveaway. But yeah, something about Sega Touring Car. I played it on the PC version first because that came with a bunch of discs that I had at some point. And I don't remember it being too bad there, but I don't know, the Saturn it just seems impossible to really control it well. So don't know whether I just need the analog pad or spend some more time with it. But it's certainly not, you know, Daytona or Sega Rally instant sort of pick up and you've got it.
Yeah.
With then some subtle, you know, nuance for doing better. It's like, yeah, you've got to do good or you're just screwed, mate. And then yeah, and film wise, I've not really. I mean, I did lie around and watch a bunch of stuff, but I didn't really pay much attention to it too much. Did sort of the later 3 Disney Star Wars films again, because I hadn't really rewatched. Well, at least I tried to rewatch the first one a bit at some point, but I hadn't really watched the second 2, or the second and third since the cinema. And yeah, I don't know. All right, they have their problems. They're not greatest. It all sort of came about from last time I was out backpacking. I was trying to, like, because the other guy, you know, he's part of our film crew. He's the producer and now editor. We talk a lot about films, and I was trying to remember. Like, I was like, was it a fever dream, or were there horses running on the top of a Star Destroyer or some shit? How did that work? What was going on? And he was like, I don't know, I don't remember that. And then yeah, so sure enough, it happens. So I sent him a message saying, yep, can confirm horses were running on top of the spaceship. but it's okay because the spaceship's still in the planet's atmosphere, so there must be gravity, so it's fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's about it.
Well, that's probably enough. But speaking of driving games, I've just remembered I was supposed to put Road Blasters on my driving cab. I completely forgot. So
That was the thing I meant to ask you about your driving cab. So do you have it set up that it will run PlayStation 2 stuff?
I've got
Because you're using
I've got Ferrari
Logitech wheel, aren't you?
F355 on there, and I can't remember if it's the PS2 one or the Dreamcast. I think it's the Dreamcast. So I don't think there's any PS2s on it.
Just wondering because I dug out from the Tato top 10 the Battle Gear 2, although the PAL version, which still has 50 and 60 hertz support and still has the wacky intro music.
It's Battle Gear, isn't it? What did I call it?
Yeah.
I call it Road Blasters. That's not
side
it.
by side. Oh no, you said Road Blasters just now.
It's Battle Gear.
All right, but yeah, the PAL version Tokyo Road Race. I was gonna fire that the ISO of it over to you if you wanted.
All right, I think I've got that game in the version of MAME.
There's MAME. I don't know how well the MAME version emulates.
Can't remember.
But the PS2 version's got Logitech wheel support. You can do FireWire, console link multiplayer, all sorts of shit.
All right. I'm just looking through my backup files to see what's on there. No, I don't think it has got the PS2 set up. I think I went Dreamcast instead.
Fair enough.
Okay. I don't think anyone else is joining us. So let's just make sure that's still going, which it is. And then we can get into some news items. We've got quite a few to get through. I suspect David Gyrick will figure heavily again.
Just to make a change.
And we've got a few Gareth Hamers as well. He was at a loose end. So we will start off with a David Gyrick one. Bomberman retrospective.
Oh, just quickly.
Go on.
So we discussed it during the top 10, and I'd put it, I think, in the Discord. But I just want a quick shout out to being heckled last weekend when I was out with someone shouting sex pest and pervert at me a couple of times. So all I can assume is that he's a fan of this very top quality show.
Yeah. Maybe he's listening now and giggling to himself.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone else would out me as a pervert and a sex pest.
No. So I did notice somebody in Discord, I presume it was David, said we need to watch the Bomberman video that I'm about to talk about before the show. I haven't watched it because it's 8 hours, 39 minutes long.
Maybe he was taking a piss.
Maybe he was, but it is. It's all split into chapters, and they're called, they've got the names are all the different versions, so you can flick through and find a version you like. So I haven't watched it. I don't know if I ever will, but thank you for sending it anyway.
I might actually.
You can put it on at work.
Stick that on as my sort of as I'm going to sleep sort of entertainment. Chip away at it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's not a one sitting video, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. The next one sent in by this David speaking, and this was the story on Hackaday that someone has finally figured out running unsigned code on the Bandai Pippin @MarkPippin console, which you'd think probably wouldn't have been maybe that hard, but maybe it's just that no one really tried to particularly.
It's not a massive community, is it?
Yeah, not a huge following. Interesting console. I've seen one at the Computer Museum in Cambridge on a games night, but aside from
they
that,
had one at Revival once. Was it running? Was there a version of Doom on it? I'm sure it was Doom. It was.
Was it Marathon? I think Marathon was on it, and that was the big.
I can't remember. But yeah, I had a go on it there, and not for very long.
Yeah. So there's probably a reason why that didn't take off.
I would think. So I'll leave that one for Random to do because he sent it, and there's a follow-up a little further down. I think he sent that one as well. But this one, in the meantime, is from David Gyrick again. More acquisitions. It seems everyone's taking everyone over. And is it EA who wants somebody to buy them? They've been shopping themselves out to Apple and various places.
Well, yeah, anyone. Yeah, I mean, well, everyone's always talking to everyone, but I guess
Yeah.
it's maybe, yeah, there's no smoke without fire, as they say. But yeah, one of my mates today who worked at Codemasters as they got bought by EA, he was like, "Oh, yeah, Apple have got to buy them. They'd be stupid not to." And I'm like, "Why would they? They barely, they kind of tolerate games just because it makes them some money. But why would they then buy a publisher who releases, predominantly most of their stuff not on the iPhone and
Yeah.
the Mac? So I don't see why that would make any sense."
No. Speaking of EA, I was listening to one of my favourite guests on the show, Rob Zadibble. I listened to his interview last week. I can't remember what opcode it was. It was something like, kill everything or whatever. But the 6502 opcode for something bad is EA. Go back and listen to the Rob Zadibble if you don't listen to any others. He's a funny man.
But yeah, at the end of last month, I sent in an email with a Kickstarter that was an HDMI kit for a GBA, which kind of much cheaper than the GBA consolizer. And instead of completely sort of destroying, the parts, you kind of build it out of a motherboard, but then you take the controller board off, and you can use that then as it turns it into a separate plug-in controller and all sorts. So it's quite a neat little kit. And then, I don't know what, probably a week later, I had to send a follow-in that said, maybe don't back the Kickstarter. As, yeah, it's based on it's by Intech Gaming, and they'd done something a while ago with the GBA that's not very good quality. Adds a load of latency, video output's not very good, and so basically there was some sort of early talk on it. It's basically exactly the same hardware inside. They've just made it into a nicer packaging. So unfortunately, it's not really going to be up to snuff. Unfortunately, because it was quite a nice little looking project. My advice, I guess, would probably just to stick with a Pi.
Yeah.
So.
Or the GameCube GB
Well, yeah,
adapter
that's
if
got
you
problems as well.
That's it.
That's not, it's not great. You can fix some of it with the NTSC GameCube and a component cable and using Swiss to load the disc instead of the player instead of using the actual disc, software disc. But yeah, a lot of that's not really worth it these days.
Right.
So yeah, especially if you've got the RGB Pi cable that I will at some point do a hardware review for, I promise. That gives you absolutely beautiful output to a CRT. So
Nice. So, one from David Gyrick again, Nintendo Hotel, and he says, now you know where to stay if you ever visit Kyoto. And it's a YouTube video of a guy going around the Nintendo Hotel in Kyoto. I was expecting more video game related stuff in the hotel, but doesn't seem to be. It's much more aimed at the general public rather than, video gamers, but I suppose it would be.
So it's like a love hotel without the love.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I imagine.
Or the Atari hotels, but without the crypto.
Yeah.
And it'll probably exist.
So why do you want an Atari Hotels hoodie?
I don't know. There's just something about the idea of having the merch now that it's gone tits up. Like getting some of the merch for prosperity reasons. And I quite like a bright orange hoodie, but I'm not paying like $60 and then plus shipping on top.
No.
And to do it. Obviously, listeners, feel free to send me Atari Hotels merch off their shop.
All money.
Well, yeah. Either works. Oh. So yeah, another one from David Gyrick. And this is we've all seen Wordle, we've all seen Loodle, and all sorts of spin-offs of the like. There is now one that is Sonic music hurdle, as it were. So it from what I gather, it plays you a bit of a Sonic game from and I think you have to specify the platform it comes from as well, because obviously Master System Sonic is differently composed and different hardware to Mega Drive Sonic. But yeah, it's got quite a lot on there, I would imagine, from all over the years. Probably even the RPG, BioWare RPG, and things like that. So if you think you know your Sonic tunes, why not check it out? I guess it's free.
Yeah. And this is another one from me. It's pretty much similar to the one David sent in about the birthplace of Nintendo. And it starts off, now converted into a hotel. We take a look at the former headquarters. So this is his link without the video and more words. So you can check either one of them out and look at Nintendo's birthplace.
One that I sent in is an article on the Raspberry Pi website, which was taken from their magazine, and it was a little mini feature on a tabletop pinball, video pinball machine that someone made. I guess kind of a brief sort of, not complete guide how to do it, but enough to sort of give you the idea of what you need for it. So it's a little wooden cabinet with some arcade buttons on it. What looks like about a 7-inch or so, maybe a 10-inch screen as the main sort of playfield, and then an LED matrix array at the top, filling in for the DMD. And he's used a Pi and an Arduino to then drive, like the Pi drives the main pinball software that he's made himself, which looks a bit basic, but I guess plays all right. But I guess you could probably go in there and jazz it up with less sort of programmer art if you were that way inclined. And then that then talks to the Arduino, which controls the inputs from the buttons and the output to the LED matrix. Yeah, it's quite a nice little unit, really.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the old little Tomy tabletop ones. Although I think I'd like those better, with it being more mechanical. And you had the sort of the rotary flip scoring around the top and things. But yeah, pretty cool little thing. And well, I would imagine you could easily rig it up to play various other video pinball games that will run through emulation or otherwise on the Raspberry Pi.
One here, again from David Gyrick, and it is about an interview with Reggie Fils-Aimé, whose book and audio book have launched, and there's a snippet in the audio book of an interview where he talks about Mother 3 and whether or not, they were talking about giving that a Western release and translating it. They didn't, but there was talk of it, and you can check it out in Reggie's book, and there's a bit of a write-up on this link with some of the transcription of that section. So that link and all the links we talk about in the news will be on the show notes page. So don't just download the podcast and listen to it and go away. Read the show notes on the website. Watch some videos on the website. Look at pictures of Random Dave on the website.
Woohoo! Subscribe to his OnlyFans. What?
Yeah. Call him a sex pest.
Yeah. That's how you get the bonus images.
And the website has got at least 3 Easter eggs on it. They have all been found, but not by the same person, I don't think. So there you go.
In my head, I thought Indie Soul had found them all sometime.
I don't think he
Can't
found
remember.
one of them. And then Vip, I know, was looking for them, and I'm sure there was one he didn't find. They are out
Yeah,
there.
I tried to send a web crawler through it and to find them, and I think I found a couple, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think I was still missing at least one.
Mm.
Yeah, something else that you can watch. Well, upcoming anyway. Netflix have put their list of some upcoming children's, well, or maybe not quite so children's, but probably mostly children's animated shows that they're going to do, and among them is Sonic Prime, which could be, who knows whether that will be any good or not. I didn't think the Cuphead show that they had was particularly great, but I don't know whether it was aimed at my generation, which, understandable. But then with the art and from the game, maybe a bit of a shame that it didn't sort of
With how
appeal with
hard
it
the game
more
is, you would
broadly.
think it's aimed at older people.
Well, I don't know. Maybe kids can piss their way through that, no problem.
Maybe.
It's just old people that are screwed. But the last Sonic cartoon I remember, which was the one that had like the bad games that came out alongside it, but it was the weird one where they had like the arm bandages and stuff like that, and they were all a bit hench. Um, that was meant to be okay in the end, as far as I know. I never actually got around to watching it. So yeah, if you're a fan of that stuff.
Something else you might be a fan of is Half-Life 2. No, this is Half-Life, not Half-Life 2. From David Garrick, this is a YouTube video again, and it's cancelled Half-Life game footage. And he says it's nice that they were able to release this footage. Yeah, it's a
So
YouTube video. It's about
it's
an
about
hour long.
45 minutes,
Yeah,
hour,
it's
yeah.
just
That one
over
I
an
have
hour.
watched. So yeah, it was a spin-off from Half-Life 2 that was being made by the people that did Dishonored,
Arcane
and
Studios.
Deathloop, yeah, Arcane Leon. And it looked quite interesting. There's some interesting ideas there, sort of playing around with, because Half-Life 2 was, that was the shooter that brought in like real-time physics interactions and sort of puzzles and things to do around that a lot of the time. But this used some of their older sort of tech to do things like sort of more melee combat focused, and so there's lots of sort of launching people into like barriers, and then they'll flip over the barriers and off the edge of a platform. Or there was some interesting puzzling they were doing with electricity propagation through water and metal objects and stuff. So yeah, and it's quite an interesting peek behind a game that you don't often get to see, especially sort of developer presented things, as we'll get to in my next news story. Yeah, you don't often see sort of developer sanctioned and premiered sort of video footage of their cancelled work. So pretty cool. So yeah, the other cancelled game that made big news, which wasn't well, it kind of was cancelled, wasn't cancelled, eventually did come out, and that was of course Duke Nukem Forever, which linked, it was like 4chan that initially, like, they were like, oh yeah, we've got this and we're gonna release it at some point, we might tidy it up in a couple of months, we might release it. And then less than a week later, I think they just went, sod it, here, it's out there. And so people sort of pieced it together a bit, and it's obviously nowhere near complete. It's only one version of at least 3 versions, I think, that got cancelled before on its way to what it became. But yeah, and then that sort of all sort of snowballed. I don't know whether that's sort of, I might have sent one in later, but I don't know whether anyone else has. I haven't looked down the list yet, but there was, that prompted one of the guys from, what's the, not Epic, it's not GT. Who the 3D Realms. But yeah, one of the developers anyway, or the owner of the studio perhaps. Apogee, that's it. The founder of Apogee, he then wrote up a long sort of article on their blog saying, right, look, obviously lots have been speculated about, lots has kind of been talked about over the years, but this is from the insider story. This is what happened, why it was difficult, what went wrong. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll have sent that in, and it'll be in the show notes. So that could be worth a read as well.
Something else that might be worth a read is sent by Random Dave, the inspiring, long-awaited autobiography of video game designer and Doom co-creator John Romero. And it is it available now on Amazon? It's called Doom Guy, First Life in Person. It says January 10th, 2023 here.
Right. That sounds like a very placeholder.
It does. Yeah, you can see the cover. But January 2023. If you really do want to know most of the backstory of certainly Doom, at least, read David Kushner's Masters of Doom, which is what I used for my research when I interviewed John Romero. And if you haven't seen that video, it's on our YouTube channel. A couple of hours interviewing at the Centre for Computing History in Cambridge.
Cool.
Another one I sent there. We lost David Ward, as you've heard in Dinosaur Pie. I know Simon mentioned that in Dinosaur Pie. David Ward, co-founder of Ocean, passed away this month. So rest in peace, David Ward.
Mm.
And to paraphrase The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so long and thanks for all the games.
I thought we were going to say memories. Yeah, what's on my shelf has sent in a YouTube video, which is a 11-minute YouTube video, and this is a cool little project that someone has sort of split out a Game Boy's video output over 9 connected video, like other Game Boy screens to make like a video wall of Game Boy LCDs. Maybe not terribly practical, but kind of cool. Certainly something that would have been cool to show. If you were back in the day showing a Game Boy game at a convention, a show, that would have been quite a cool setup to do. I remember them outputting to CRTs and doing that as a display. I think that was at the Future Gaming Show. I saw Nintendo doing that, and I was like, "Oh my god, I really want a Game Boy that will plug into the that will display on a TV." That'll be like everything. That'll be fantastic and perfect. And obviously, these days that kind of shit's easy. But this is kind of nice because it gives you that original sort of keeps all the characteristics of the LCD screen. It just makes it all a bit bigger, although with kind of bezels in between.
Yeah, I did watch that one. You said maybe not practical. I'd say definitely not practical, but at least you can.
Far enough away, you might get the right effect.
Yeah, maybe. So we got one here from Gareth Hamer, who says, "Lost N64 prototype game found." And it's been lost again because he didn't include the link. So I Googled that, and I found a video about a lost N64 game that was recent. And maybe it's the same game, maybe it's not. But this is Cubivore. And I presume it's the same one that he meant to send in. And there's a video of lots of the gameplay there for you to watch. If that wasn't the one you meant, then you should have included a link, you daft sod.
Well, I've never heard of Cubivore, I don't think, so...
No.
But I've not heard of every game in the world, I don't profess to. Gareth Hamer also, oh my god, we're getting into a Gareth Hamer block. So this is obviously when he was...
He's just moved into a new house, so maybe he had some spare time waiting for his movers. I don't know. Maybe he moved himself.
I couldn't be bothered to unpack anything to play with. He just sat on his phone looking at retro news.
Yeah.
He has sent one in saying the Royal Wii has sold for a shitload, which links to an article on Retro Dodo and an eBay link that appears to not exist anymore, which was a shame because I was hoping that might tell us what it went for.
I couldn't see a final price on it.
No. So the Retro Dodo link just sort of digs into the story behind it, whether it's wheel, bloody Nintendo, whether it was real. And they say when they wrote it, there was 12 days left and it was at $3,000. But then also the seller apparently said they're not 100% sure it's the exact same one, which sounds a bit like a get out clause of like, I've spray painted this Wii and I'm going to try and sell it as the Queen's Wii. And then to disclaimer, well, it might not be the real one. I don't know. Up to you. But well, I wonder if that's maybe why it doesn't exist on eBay. Maybe it got taken off for being counterfeit.
It's like the Family Guy disclaimer: not responsible for undercooked shrimp. Oh, just pouring myself a top up. So we went while we were down in Cambridge. We went to Lord Conrad's brewery. So I picked up a box of various beers, and this which camera? Let's put it on this one so you can see without the camera doing weird colours and stuff. Robin Red Beet cider, which is coloured with beetroot, but it's pretty much a normal cider with a bit of a beetrooty taste. It's good. I bought 3 of those pouches and a box of beer and a couple of bags of pork scratchings and some beer socks. So he did all right out of me. I did feel pressured into buying something, which I was going to do anyway, but he wasn't actually in. It was the Saturday morning, I think, before we went to the museum, and he wasn't actually going to work, but he went in just so that we could have a look around. So I think we all bought something. Maybe A didn't, but me and Dion did. So I'm enjoying that while we do.
You'll give him a quick hand job round the back.
Probably. This one, again from Gareth Hamer, who was sat on his ass in his new house. C64 is getting a Star Wars classic game, and it looks damn impressive. It's an article on Indie Retro News. It's a good site to subscribe to, this. And you get news about lots of different ports coming to, the Amstrads, the Commodores, the Spectrums, that kind of thing, and the Ataris as well, that kind of era computer. And you get download links to most of them, and certainly videos. But this one does look good. It's like almost like the, what is it? The Hoth. What's the Hoth one? Where you're flying around the AT-AT's legs and that. It's as though you're doing that. It's got an AT-AT walking across it. Well, yeah, I guess. It's the N64 one, isn't it? The first one.
Well,
is it just Rogue
the
Leader?
N64 Shadows of the Empire.
That's the one.
But I'm fairly sure it's cropped up in a Rogue Squadron at some point.
Yeah.
And other, it became the this is the level you've got to put in your Star Wars game if it features flying.
Yeah.
Probably because at the time it's very easy to make a very white snowscape because it's shit. You don't have, you don't have to worry about the fog or the draw distance. You just everything's just white.
Chuck a few grey lines in every so often. That'd be right.
Yeah. Something else graphically that works quite well. This again from Gareth Hamer. This is an article on Old School Gamer about a AGA Amiga version of Castlevania that has a playable prototype available now, and it's based on the Sharp X68000 version. So if anyone's familiar with that, it's a lot more graphically detailed. It's kind of close to the Castlevania 4 imagining of the castle, the first Castlevania. But it looks, from the videos, it looks like it runs really well. It's got that nice kind of Amiga color palette that you saw, often a lot of Bitmap Brothers games, that kind of metallic, like gradient look to it almost. It's kind of, they're not pastel colors, but because they're sort of browns and reds and things, but they're kind of muted, but very nice sort of gradients to them. I think it looks very nice indeed. So yeah, quite cool if they managed to finish porting the whole of Castlevania to the Amiga.
Was there any Castlevania game on there? I don't think there was there? Let's have a look at my ROM set.
Well, yeah. I could find out while we're discussing things because I'm.
No, I can't say. Oh yeah, there was. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there was.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was AGA though. Probably wasn't. I don't want to say.
So
I'm sure it's in Hardcore Gaming 101 Castlevania book.
I don't doubt it. One here, another new game, but this time on Steam rather than an old computer. Retro indie game Gravity Ace is being released tomorrow. And if you're not watching or listening today, that's May the 26th. So this is from John at Gravity Ace, and he says, I'm writing to you about Gravity Ace, an indie gravity shooter about to leave early access. He says it's a love letter to classics like Thrust and Gravitar with modernised gameplay and graphics. And it does look very pretty. And I do like Thrust-style games. And while I've been scraping through ROMs, you're pulling up either box art or screenshots, and you're looking for screenshots of the ones that aren't scraped and things. I've noted down a few games and tried a few games to break up the monotony of editing the XML file, and played a few like this. So I may check this one out at some point.
Yeah. Just realised I said hello, good sir, to Kevin Collins in the YouTube chat, but without really sort of registering that in his chat message, he said he's listening at work, playing in the background, so he probably wouldn't be reading the chat. So
no.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in.
Exactly.
And not paying attention to work so much.
Yeah. The best way to enjoy the show, I find.
Oh no, it's the best way to enjoy work. I was thinking. That's something else I've been playing. Only today so far, but found out about a collectible card game that's on itch.io that's free, and it's entirely just all of the cards and everything are just it's blatantly the whole thing is just Pokemon lifted. But it's not the same as the Pokemon card game. It's more like the card bit at the beginning of Inscription, and it's really nice. Just sits in a little window. Obviously, like I said, it's free, and I've just basically had that on a second monitor all day while I've been working. Yeah, that's well worth checking out. It's called Pocket Crystal. Is it no? Pocket Crystal League, something like that. Yes, Pocket Crystal League. So yeah, if you want a little side activity to do, and you like card based games, I wholeheartedly recommend that at the moment.
You play it on a screen called Dave's Work Spreadsheet.
Yeah. Well, I just have multiple computers, and so there's the clean, not work computer. Well, it's far from clean. You know what I mean?
You got a clean computer.
So yeah, that's the one with all the Tor browsers on it and all the dirty shit. So found the blog that I mentioned earlier, which the reason I hadn't seen it in the list is because it came through as potential spam. So whether that's because I didn't put any content in the message and just the link, or because I'd sensationally titled the subject "The Truth About Duke Nukem Forever," because obviously 10 things your doctor doesn't want you to know about Duke Nukem. Perhaps it picked it up, so there it is for the show notes.
And one here from David Gyrick, Japanese gamers' favourite Nintendo series. And it's entirely in Japanese, but he did use Google Translate and posted the English version at the bottom of the email. I can't remember if I did that for the show notes, or you have to do it yourself. So we can run down the top 10, I guess. We can leave you some surprises. These are Japanese gamers' favourite Nintendo series. So 10 is Mother, 9 Super Smash Bros., 8 Xenoblade, 7 Mario, 6 Fire Emblem, 5 Animal Crossing, 4 Splatoon, 3 Kirby, 2 Zelda, and 1 Pokemon. I think in the UK or the US and most of the rest of the world, that order would be very, very different.
Yeah.
Kirby in
Yeah,
number 3. That's the surprise for me.
it's very Nintendo heavy. Not terribly surprising, I guess. I didn't think Metroid was that popular
They're all
in
Nintendo
Japan.
series.
I thought I heard something. Don't know. No, I was thinking Xenoblade, but yeah. I mean, it is now Nintendo. Don't think Xenosaga was that PlayStation? I can't remember. Maybe it wasn't. But yeah, that is all. Well, Legendary Stuffy series. Don't know what the fuck that is. No. I thought I knew my Japanese shit, but perhaps not. It's interesting as well that the translation has done like numeral 1, 2, 3, alphanumeric 4, like
Yeah.
well, spelt out 4, 5, and then back to numerals for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11. Very strange. Something else that's possibly a bit strange. I'm still waiting for the person who has got my Steam Deck on their pre-order, who's usually he's managed to get 11 PlayStation 5s now for people. So you'd think he'd be quite good. He would have been in, and he got an analog pocket. I thought he was the god of getting older shit, but doesn't seem to have done very well with the Steam Deck, unfortunately. Ben Jones has got his, little Ben.
Yes.
Maybe he'd be interested in dicking about with this. I don't know, but it's someone, as obviously people have been putting Windows on it, as well as running, the Linux-based Steam OS. But someone has also now got Mac OS to run on it. In fact, Mac OS version 7. So kind of a retro version of Mac OS. I don't know what you can then do with it particularly, but
maybe play Civilization or SimCity, and that's about it.
which you definitely could not do under Linux or Windows. Definitely couldn't do that. But yeah, be interested to see. I've heard a lot of. I mean, I don't know whether it's just that suddenly it's another device that a bunch of people have got that hadn't realised how slick a lot of the emulation has become with RetroArch and front ends to RetroArch that kind of appear like a whole sort of OS. But yeah, there's a lot of buzz about emulation on it these days, so kind of interested to see what that's like, as well as got plenty of other devices I use for it. But
yeah, I'm waiting for your report to decide my next retro handheld purchase. I still use the Pandora, so that's my weapon of choice. So I'm in two minds whether to upgrade to the OpenBox Pyra or the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck's a bit big, though. That's the only thing.
It's a bit big. Yeah. So my mate's just got a Retroid Pocket 2 Plus. That's pretty good up to kind of does Dreamcast and some GameCube. All right. There's the what's it called? Not the Ioneo or the Io stuff. The Odin.
Right.
The Odin Pro is really powerful, and I think they've got that running PCSX2 now for PS2 stuff. I run PS2 stuff on an Android tablet pretty well, but that obviously it's not really handheld.
No, I think my
They-
ideal solution would be to be able to run RetroPie as the front end, because the Pandora, you know, you got to
uh,
launch the emulator, then browse for the ROMs and
yeah,
stuff.
so
So
my one, I've got the Anbernic RG351, which isn't, the most powerful by today's standards. But that one I was interested in because a lot of them are running Android, especially the newer ones at the moment. But that one they run a stripped out version of Linux, and it just runs Emulation Station.
right,
So it's
yeah,
basically RetroPie.
yeah,
It's so I was able to configure it with all the RetroArch shortcuts that I like for sort of quick save states, rewind,
mm,
and things like that. And then it's got you've got configurable skinnable front end. That's basically the emulation station
yeah.
stuff. So that's pretty good. You've got a few sort of variants of that depending on what kind of screen you want, whether you want to play console games or handheld games predominantly. But
Console, well, both.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean it's not a bad option for sort of console games, but yeah, I mean you probably would be better off going the route of the ones with a more sort of TV 4:3 screen on them. But
Yeah,
that kind of tops out at PlayStation 1 emulation, though.
right.
Um,
Yeah, the Pandora will do PlayStation 1. Nothing newer than that, I don't think. Some people have say, "Oh, I've been playing a Dreamcast game. It runs at about 8 frames per second," and no,
Great, yeah.
that's not playing a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird because there was a time where it was really frantic. They were coming out almost every week.
Mm,
And then all those, supply chains and everything hit, and everything sort of slowed down. And then they all kind of the chipset they were all using sort of stagnated. It was getting quite old. And then you've had these sort of some trickling out with newer chips in them, but then they're either expensive or they're widescreen screens that don't necessarily suit content very
yeah,
well.
I
Or
mean, my phone does it, and I think I've got the same controller as you use for your tablet. That you put you insert your phone into the controller kind of thing, landscape, and my phone will run Dolphin perfectly well. I've played GameCube games on there, played like Mario Kart on the GameCube on there with no slowdown whatsoever. So that's really good. It's just a big bulky controller. The one I had for my other phone was a lot smaller controller, so it'd go in like your pocket or whatever. But my new phone's too big to go in that, so I had to buy the bigger one like you've got.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll keep
I'll
you
await your
posted,
Steam
though.
Deck. In the meantime,
Well, yeah, I mean that could be it.
yeah, there is a possible future solution, although it's big and bulky at the moment. The Mr. Multisystem prototype, which we know Retro Man Cave has been a part of. It's a company in the same building as that he's moved to who produce it. And they've made up a handheld version. It is a quick and dirty 3D printed case, proof of concept really, but I suspect they'll carry on working on it. But it is a big bulky thing at the moment, and the video in the show notes goes through the various stages of them prototyping different D-pads and button styles to find the ones that seem to work the best. So there's this video that's linked by Gareth Hamer, and there's also a video of it on Retro Man Cave's channel, so you can check those out.
Just thinking, because obviously your Pandora and everything's got the keyboard.
Yeah,
And
I
all
do
that
like
business.
the keyboard for computers.
Something I was going to send you, which isn't exactly particularly ideal for handheld gaming, was, are you aware of the Framework laptops?
No.
Which, okay, so it's a modular laptop that you can get as a DIY sort of kit where you put it all together, or pre-built. But you've got the option there that they sell through their site, and I think through iFixit, lots of either replacement parts or alternative parts. So all the ports on it, selection on it, on the sides, they're little socketable modules. So if you want all USB-As, you just buy a bunch of the USB-A things and plug them in. If you want a LAN port on it, you buy a little LAN thing, and you can sort of hot swap them as well. But because you can buy just the main board, because they sell it like that, so that now that 12th gen has come out, they can then either, you can sort of, if you want to upgrade your laptop, you can just buy the little main board with the CPU on it. So someone's bought one of the main boards and then turned it into, they've made a case with a sort of broken out mechanical keyboard on it, called it like the frame deck. So that's quite a cool sort of, like those old sort of note. Do you remember the sort of text, electronic typewriter sort of things? It almost looks like a sort of a compact version of one of those,
right?
But with a sort of a more high res screen rather than just a 4-line 80 character screen sort of job.
Yeah, I did have an electronic typewriter. I wrote my first book on it, available on my website.
Yeah.
So, one here from me called Test.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. From Mike James, regards, Mike James.
And the follow-up to that was Resident Evil live-action trailers. This is coming to Netflix, of course, and you can watch the trailers if you haven't already. I think this is a show that I would watch. Kind of The Witcher and stuff like that. I've never played The Witcher, not too interested in that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not really the same storyline as the games anyway.
No.
But then a lot of the sort of the
turn the sound off.
they've done what sort of, I'd say the voice work, because that was something that's always quite nice about the Witcher games is the quality of the voice acting and the sort of the mannerisms that they brought through, and so they've kept a lot of that quite well in the TV series. But yeah, it's all sort of based on the books rather than the games.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know about this. I'll watch it, I would imagine. But the sort of reboot film of Resident Evil, I didn't really get on with.
I don't think I've watched that yet. The first one I really liked. Second one was okay. They went downhill pretty quick from there, and I just never felt compelled to dip my toe in again. I will do at some point, but yeah, not done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I watched all of those. Yeah, the not Uwe Boll, the other guy. All the Milia Jovovich ones anyway.
Yeah.
So I watched all of those last year. And I did kind of get into the series, like towards there's some low points definitely, but it kind of, as it was a bit like the Fast and Furious, where as it became self-aware and they started having fun with it a bit, there was some interesting shit going on, especially with the sort of the cloning that goes on of characters, and they sort of have good fun with that. Not watched I think they were Japanese origin, the animated films, like this. I think they're CG animated Resident Evil films. There's a couple of those.
No, I've not seen those.
I'm meaning to watch, but not done that yet. So yeah. Another one from Gareth Hamer, another one that fans are making, and this is Metroid 64, which is, I don't know whether it's based around any of the games and sort of bringing them into 3D, or if it's just trying to make a 3D version of Metroid 64. Sort of looks a bit kind of like it would be running on Zelda 64. A Zelda is sort of like, looks like you're in a Zelda dungeon, but obviously Metroid themed, rather than Metroid Prime, where obviously when they went 3D there, they went first person. And yeah, don't know. Been a couple of development projects on the N64 this month. I don't know whether there is any. It's on here. Has anyone sent in? Oh yeah, Gareth Hamer a bit later. He sent in. Someone sort of made a test demake of Portal for the N64, which works surprisingly well. albeit in a very small room. So whether it can expand to a full test level of Portal, I don't know, let alone then have any of the fun dialogue and things like that in there. But it almost seems like we might be on a renaissance of N64 homebrew at the moment.
Yeah, not something I've ever really looked at.
Yeah, it's just an odd one, isn't it? Because you'd think it's kind of a bit of a black sheep of, well, then it's not really, yeah, there's not really been PlayStation or Saturn. I mean, there was the Net Eurose stuff for PlayStation originally.
Early on, there was what was
That
the
didn't-
emulator called? There was an NES emulator available for PS1. What was it called? I can't remember. PS NES or something like that. And then it kind of, I thought, oh, things will move on now, and it never really seemed to.
I suppose the Dreamcast came along, and it, from almost day one, would run unsigned, homebrew code.
Yeah, and Windows.
Burnt disk. Well, I mean, the Windows stuff's not really that useful, but it's it's got a bit more power to it and a bit more memory, so it's a bit easier to get stuff going on there. Whereas I mean, Saturn would be a fucking nightmare to write a 3D engine for. PlayStation would be okay probably, but still not great fun. Whereas Dreamcast, I mean, the development kit for Dreamcast got quite mature, homebrew wise. And I think the PlayStation, other than the Rose stuff, which I guess you could base something off, sort of the original development kits for that were horrifically like awkward to actually use, as an actual developer. So yeah, I guess it's just, is it worth the investment for the power on tap? But there's a lot of people doing sort of PlayStation style, PlayStation aesthetics, PC based demakes of things, because there was that Bloodborne one recently. So sort of people recreating the non-filtered texture matte with all the geometry warping. I guess that's keeping them happy enough without having to wrestle with the hardware.
Yeah. So, a couple from me. One from me. The Video Game Library. I'd never heard of the site until they contacted me this month and said, we've added Smoke and Mirrors to the Video Game Library. And it is a website that catalogues video game books. And Smoke and Mirrors is on there. So they were asking for, some information about the book. So I sent it to them, and the book's on there. And if you're looking for a retro or a modern gaming book, then I'm sure you will find one on this site. They don't sell them, to my knowledge. Maybe they have affiliate links, I don't know. But not with me, anyway. But, yeah, I never knew the site existed. The Video Game Library.
That's pretty. I can see me spending a bit of time here.
Yeah, I did have a good look through it.
Pretty useful as a reference to finding reference.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's what I use to reference references.
Yeah,
I'm just looking. I'm clicking on a few just to see if they have affiliate links. Oh yeah, buy this book.
I was about to say, yeah, there you are on the front page, but then
takes you to Barnes and Noble.
It's a constantly building front page. Everyone's on the front page.
Yeah, when Smoke and Mirrors went on, it was right near the top. I don't know where it is now.
It's got the John Romero book, which
isn't even out for a year.
Six
months.
That just goes to Amazon saying January the 10th again. I wonder if that was meant to come out and it just didn't for some reason. Anyway,
maybe. I'm still scrolling.
There's a lot of books on there.
There's an awful lot of books on there.
So while you're doing that, we'll take a break from Gareth Hamer to dive back into David Gyrick's box of goodies. And, me speaking about Yuji Naka not being maybe all he cracked up to be. This is a video on the Golden Bolt YouTube channel. That's just about an hour long. This is about the fall of Sonic Team. Sega's Collapse, Crunch and Chaos, it's called. And it sort of chronicles from when they started through to then the sort of the 3D games and presumably everything then falling to pieces a bit. And obviously Sega falling to pieces alongside that, which, we all know what sort of happened there. But yeah, I'm going to add that to my watch later. Watch that at some point.
Well, something else you can do later is shave your
Shave my
balls.
Oh. How did I know that was coming?
It's
So
time.
now we've got officially British summer. It's going to last at least another 4 days.
Yeah,
What better time to get some airflow?
get the winter coat off, shave your balls, get some Manscaped boxers, and enjoy your summer. It's time, listeners, to grab yourself the gift that keeps on trimming. Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have got you covered, or as I say every month, should I say, uncovered. Join the over 2 million men around the world who trust Manscaped to keep their gentleman gardens in order. Go to manscaped.com and use the code RGRoundup for 20% off plus free shipping. While you're there, check out the Performance Package 4.0, which contains the Lawnmower 4, the Landmark Trimmer with its skin-safe technology. It's even waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver, an anti-chafing, ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. And you also get the aforementioned and my favourite, Manscaped anti-chafing boxers. If that's not enough for you, you'll also get the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which is again waterproof with a 9,000 RPM motor. And they all support wireless charging using electromagnetic induction. So, help yourself reduce the risk of ingrown hairs and grooming accidents by checking out the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. And remember, it comes with 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code RGRoundup. Do it today.
Oh yeah. Get your bikini line sorted.
Yeah.
For your summer holidays.
You disgusting retro gamers.
You
Shave your
sex
balls.
pest perverts.
Oh dear, that'll never get old.
There is a Facebook group for. Well, there's a couple of Facebook groups for the sort of the local mountain biking and cycling scene, and I was like, I haven't really done anything on Facebook for ages. Should I go on there and just say anyone know who or why they shouted this at me?
Did you shout sex pest at a random stranger today? If so, DM me.
I might maybe I'll bump into them again sometime and find out if it happens again or ask them what the deal is.
Yeah. So one here, and they value my privacy, so I have to accept that. But it's okay. This is my dirty browser. This one came in from David Gyrick, and it is R-Type Tactics Remake. He says it's an interesting series which is a spin-off of the shooter games. And it is a link to an article on Gamatsu.com. I don't think there's a video on there. I was hoping for a video. Have you ever played R-Type Tactics?
I have.
Turn-based strategy.
Been very close to buying it at times, and I don't know why I didn't. And then I think about it's like something I think about every 6 months. I think, I should have, because it's a PSP game. It's like, well, I keep forgetting that there was, for whatever reason, I didn't buy it. So I should at least just download it and stick it on my PSP. and I never do. So whether I'll just wait and get this, I don't know. But I'm sure it's. I've always been sure it's a game I'm gonna like. For whatever reason, I've just never made the plunge. Yeah. Speaking of making a plunge, we are back into the land of Gareth Hamer. This one is titled "A Little Game Getting a Big Update," and this is to celebrate the. Well, I don't know whether this is particularly to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Little Big Adventure 2, but May this month, yeah, this is the anniversary. They're bringing new game plus mode for both the classic games, by the looks of it. So, I thought it was going to be another sort of remake. They've actually just updated the Steam games 1 and 2 and added more, a new game mode, new game plus. So that's pretty cool. I wonder what the oldest update new content is. Well, I wonder what the oldest game that's been patched to fix bugs. But yeah, and then what's the oldest game that's had new content added to it like this? Certainly for free rather than DLC. Something you'd never have got with the Coleco Chameleon, of course.
No, all the games were bug-free.
No option in 25 years to go back and add more content, new game modes to it to celebrate your anniversary.
Yeah, that's a benefit of writing bug-free games, though, I suppose.
I guess.
A benefit of writing bug-free websites is that links don't die, which is what's happened to Gareth Hamer's here. And it was live when he sent it because I clicked on it because it intrigued me. It's a link he entitled Minor 2019er. And it's on Indie Retro News. And it's a game that is a prequel, as you might have guessed, to Minor 2049er. But the
it
link
might not
is
have been
dead.
a prequel.
It says in his link.
It would be.
Well, the link says
Minor
2019er, hot news as prequel to .html.
I was in my brain. I'd omitted the 20 part, and I was just thinking, well, 19's before 49. Like what? Eh? But got very confused. Well, no, I was thinking 2019. 2019's after 40. I was thinking like 1949 or something. Yeah, brain. I think it was because I'd been looking at Gareth Hamer's other email, which is 1942 on a 2600. Two things that I like: 1942 and the Atari 2600.
And that link's dead for me.
Okay, works for me.
Oh.
Is your dirty browser got too dirty? It's got its tubes clogged up.
It must be filthy, my browser.
It's got a.
Let me try a different browser and paste it in there.
I'm trying to think of what's the word for the internet that begins with S.
Oh, it works in that browser. What's up with this browser then?
Oh no.
Maybe it's just too dirty, like you say.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of sexually transmitted infection, but for like internet transmitted infection.
Warning, potential. Oh, is it because it's trying to go to HTTP?
Mine's HTTPS.
Yeah, but the link is HTTP.
Oh, the link's HTTP, and then maybe. Whereas I'm in Firefox, it's just forced it to be HTTPS and not.
Warning, potential security risk ahead. Ooh. Anyway, the links apparently do work, and I can see it in this browser.
There's a YouTube video that looks really smooth and good, which is especially interesting when you see that it's been made in Batari Basic as well. So it's not like they're writing to the metal.
That is pretty good, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. The
scrolling is a bit jumpy, but the planes and everything and the bullets are really good.
I think it's.
Let's have a look at the upgraded
I see what you mean.
now.
Yeah, the like the aircraft carriers and the islands scrolling the background layer. But yeah, all the sprites. And there's quite a lot of sprites. A lot of planes. They haven't skimped on them.
No, it's very good.
Yeah, nice work. A shame I don't have a Harmony and a working Atari 2600 anymore.
We got a couple more dropped into chats. Jefferson has caught it for the first time. Finally caught the live stream. How's it going, guys? It's going.
It's going.
It
It's
is
going. Not quite gone.
Not quite gone yet. We're about 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, but we're doing all right. Sparkle's still a bit too poorly to have found the link to join the chat.
Yeah. And maybe Scott didn't finish work early after all. Or maybe he did and couldn't be asked. We'll find out next month.
So yeah, very, very UK centric.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of UK centric, Mr. Simon Butler himself has joined.
Has he? Where is he?
Good evening, Simon.
There he is. Mr. B himself. We've just been talking about you. Why did we talk about Simon? Oh, I said you mentioned David Ward. Yeah, dead people. I said you mentioned David Ward in Dinosaur Pie. We mentioned it ourselves. Just got back from watching Top Gun Maverick. Okay, let's do a film review. How was it? Now, everyone gets to wait while Simon types his review.
Yeah, it's a shame we can't pull him in. Well, we could, but yeah, not as easy as just Skyping in.
We could plan to do it in the future. Oh, he says fucking awesome.
Oh, that's good.
And that's in spite of it having Tom Cruise in. Oh, they're all coming now. I think they've all been to the cinema together. Martin Laws is in there now. All right, chaps. We are.
Then again, we all know that Butler's taste in films is shocking.
Oh,
if you believe
shocking.
what everyone else will say.
Shocking scenes. I knew I'm with him on Ghostbusters. I thought it was crap. Well, not crap, but I didn't like it. So much so that I've not watched any of the others.
I've been meaning to watch it under the premise of like seeing whether it holds up before I then watch any of the newer ones that have been over the years, but I just can't be asked ever. So
yeah, my problem with it was I think I said last month or the month before we were discussing all the films, weren't we? It didn't live up to the hype, but then no film could. It was just everywhere, and I was disappointed.
I'm quite glad about Top Gun though. I'd quite like to watch that because that was became quite a thing in our uni household that would end up getting drunk and then putting Top Gun on, and all like lying in one guy's king size bed, huddled around his like.
And you wonder why people call you Sex Pest at random.
Probably 20-inch CRT like stood on a chest of drawers, and but then inevitably, I'd disappear somewhere else, and one of the others would go, and then we'd come down in the morning. The two of us had left, and it'd still be like just been looping round somehow. Or there was just static on, but then the other two would just be lying there, just like, well, one of them would have got in the bed, and the other would just be lying on top of the bed. They'd blatantly just passed out, probably quite soon after we left. But yeah, it was watched at least once a week, probably.
Yeah, I did like the original, but I was a much younger person then, as we all were. I'd probably give the second one a watch, but the only film I can watch Tom Cruise in is Rain Man, because Dustin Hoffman acts him off the screen and saves the film. But I do like Rain Man, but I'm not a Tom Cruise fan. So Simon's movie review, for those waiting, it's a trip back to the 80s, which we all like. Speaking of which, my brother used to do reviews. He used to text them to me and Neil every so often, and his movie reviews simply consisted of changing one of the words in the film title to bollocks. So one of the top bollocks. So one of the standout ones he did, you remember the film Salmon Fishing in the Yemen? His review was Salmon Fishing in the Bollocks.
better than salmon bollocks in the. Yeah, they're things that go around on Twitter quite a lot nowadays, aren't they? They're like ruin a game name by changing one of the words for moist, things like that.
I saw one, I think it was last week, and it was taking a line of dialogue from a film and adding your piece of shit at the end. Some of them work rather well. Okay, back to the news then, and back to Gareth Hamer. Saudis really want into video games, and 5% of Nintendo is now owned by Saudi Arabia. Now, was it from Saudi, the guy who was buying SNK? Or he'd bought the most of SNK?
Yes. I think that's...
Yeah, and now they're buying into Nintendo as well. So Saudi diversifying, probably ahead of a coming oil crisis, no doubt.
Well, but this one's a weird one. I mean, this just sort of sounds like, you have an investment fund and it invests, bits of it into all sorts, because isn't there like some like Wisconsin teachers union or something that owns like 2% of Blizzard or something stupid like that. Well, not anymore, but there's like weird shit like that you find. But yeah, the SNK one's a bit weird, more different, isn't it? Because it actually seems more like, this guy's just outright bought SNK.
Gone out and bought them direct.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. If that's what you want to
do.
Mm.
If you got plenty of money and not many ideas on what to do with it, I suppose that's one way to get rid of it.
Well,
or to make it turn into more money.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the hope anyway, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's better than throwing it all at Tommy Tallarico, I guess.
I suppose so. Speaking of confusing consoles.
Yep. Gareth Hamer. He says, dig out your Polymega boys. This was the news that's gone round that the company CEO has said that they are looking to try and engineer Dreamcast compatibility into the Polymega, which I didn't look at it because I couldn't be asked. But I was kind of wondering about how does this work, because they've got like CD and DVD reading capability. Well, I think there may be DVD. I don't know actually. But the Dreamcast, as we all know, it used the GD-ROM disc format, which I don't know the full details of it. It's not, because there's all sorts of things like people will say, DVDs are not really any different in terms of density. There's no real extra technology. They just got rid of all the error correction sort of parity data that there was in CDs, and that's why you've got the extra space. But I can't see that makes an 800 megabyte disc suddenly able to hold 4.7. But you could feasibly see that a Dreamcast disc, which is, well, it's just under a gigabyte, hence GD-ROM, you could stretch a CD to that maybe.
So he says here,
or that technology, but
in this link he says the Sega Dreamcast didn't have a DVD drive. Instead, it used a proprietary disc format called the GD-ROM, which provided higher storage compared to a CD-ROM. And then the question: would that be a module you'd have to put on a software or a software update? And the answer is there's ideas at the moment. My understanding is it will be challenging to get a normal DVD or Blu-ray drive to read a GD-ROM disc, but there's always more than one way to skin a hamster. We're always thinking outside the box, which is really a non-answer. Yeah, there might be a way to do it, but we don't know what it is yet.
So just under that, it said everyone who owns a Dreamcast has a Dreamcast compatible drive, he said. Maybe we could do something with being able to plug in an original Dreamcast and load it in that way.
Okay, so I've got a Dreamcast and a TV.
I've got a Dreamcast, why do I need a Polymega? What the fuck?
So I can pay 400 odd quid for the Polymega and buy the add-on bit that I need to plug the Dreamcast into, and then I can play my Dreamcast on a TV.
That just seems bonkers. Because, like, yeah, okay, you could. I mean, unless he's implying that, oh yeah, we're going to give people on the Dreamcast software they can run that will rip the discs into a format that you can just sort of load in the SD card into the Polymega. Wink, wink, as in just download them all off the. I think, all right, burn Dreamcast CD,
Yeah, burn
because all of the
CDs.
pirated games are all CD format now, so you could just run burnt CDs. But yeah, that's
Either way,
weird.
it's mental.
And I mean, it's kind of. I don't know if you saw the patent that Microsoft did, where because the Xbox Series S has no disk drive, they wanted a way for people to be able to run disk-based content on it. So to get around that, so in the past, you were able to use like the HD DVD add-on as an actual game drive as well, and things like that. But what they've done for this is they've decided that, right, so because obviously someone who's got an old Xbox, a cheap upgrade path looks like the Xbox Series S, but because there's no disk drive, kind of puts people off because you can't take your games with you, your physical games. So they're like, well, what we'll do is we've come up with this thing where you just plug them in on the same network, and then you put your disc in your old Xbox, and that authenticates with the servers that you've got the legitimate disc in, and then it'll run the downloaded sort of the downloaded version on the Xbox Series S. So yes, okay, you're going to potentially get some benefits of running it on a Series S. There's some frame rate boosts here and there, and original Xbox games, they run higher resolution and things like that. But it's not going to be a great deal of benefit, really, to just, well, fuck it, I might as well just leave my old Xbox hooked up. I don't know.
Yeah.
It all seems like problems, trying to find solutions to problems that they've kind of caused themselves but aren't really problems.
Speaking of problems that shouldn't exist, here's one from Spinal. I don't think we've seen one from Spinal for a while. Welcome back. And this is Roller Coaster XL. Hi, this guy made a roller coaster in XL. Not much else to say, so here is a link. And I think I watched this when it came in. I'm going to watch it again now, but I know exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be XL, and inside XL is going to be a roller coaster. XLunusual.com if you want to check other options out. I know I've got a spreadsheet that one plays Pac-Man and I think one plays Frogger.
I made an Outrun style driving engine in Excel. I don't know if you remember me sending any screenshots of that. It did it differently to this. This looks like it's using the Visual Basic graphics API stuff to do like actual stuff. Whereas I took the approach of, I'm going to make a sheet where I've changed all the sizes of the cells so they're like square pixels, and then actually make it color them as it goes. Because doing like using the graphics API is too easy. you want it so that it's like got big chunky pixelated trees and shit flying past you. But it was quite interesting because I'd made one sheet, basically the track editor, so you could really quickly define tracks and stuff. And the whole original plan was to sort of recreate the Nürburgring, but never really got there. I had problems with my tree manager subroutines. I never got fixed, and it didn't help that I always did it in the middle, like probably 2 o'clock in the morning when I was quite drunk as well. So
that's probably the best time to do it.
Well, maybe, but then every time I'd come to it and I don't know how any of this works, and then I'd write some stuff that kind of started working, but then probably broke a load of other stuff, and then I'd just go round and round in circles doing that and never getting any progress. But I had fun. Something else that's fun. I've seen doing the rounds on the forums, but was going to read at work, but as I said, I've got sidetracked by little games instead of reading articles while I'm at work. And this is a translated Japanese newspaper article that was in 1996 that's been translated, and it sort of chronicles the decline beginning in sort of 1993-ish of Sega's 16-bit business, and sort of, not just Japanese Sega, but like Sega of America and everything, and yeah, how all of the 16-bit consoles were kind of all coming to an end, and then sort of, presumably goes into sort of decisions that were being then made about 32-bit with the 32X add-on, and CD, obviously CD add-ons, and we all know how sort of add-ons fared in the real world when it came down to it. That's something to have a read if you want to.
Something else you can look at if you want to, and I would advise you do, came from Gareth Hamer. Simon the Sorcerer, better have Chris Barry in it. And this is Simon the Sorcerer Origins, which has been announced, a blast from the adventure game past. And the developer Small Things Studios and publisher Leonardo Interactive have announced the return of the 1990s point-and-click adventure classic. And there is screenshots here, which look lovely, and there's a video as well, which also looks lovely. So I will definitely check that out, because as you know, I do love a point-and-click adventure.
Completely not interesting factoid.
Go on.
I once worked with the Simon that Simon the Sorcerer was based on.
I'd say that's quite interesting.
Oh, maybe.
Why was it based on him? Was he a mage?
It was yes, he was a wizard. No, he was brother of the developer. I think it was brother, might have been nephew, but I think brother. Yeah, and so it was. They might have done some voice work as well when they did the CD version.
So was it complimentary, or was it basically bullying?
I don't know. I think it was just laziness on the guy's part. It's like, oh, I need a character, and looked across the room and was like,
I'll use it.
Yeah, you'll do. Simon, you'll do. Stand there while I draw you in pixels.
Put this tall hat on. One here from David Gyrick. We mentioned it earlier. EA to sell out. They are shopping themselves around the big boys. Apple, was it Amazon the other?
Maybe
there's
NBC.
There's a few people mentioned, weren't there? Disney, Apple, Amazon, to name but a few.
Disney would...
I could see Disney doing it.
Well, but then Disney just recently got out of being so hands-on about their games business, because they used to have, an actual Disney Interactive publishing division, and then they would hire studios to work for them, and they sort of, only 12, 18 months ago broke all that up and changed it to a model where, they're just licensing, purely just doing the licensing and then letting everyone else deal with it. Which is why the Star Wars license, then blew out and went from EA exclusivity to all over the place. So, fuck knows. Who knows these days with the way things are going? I mean, I wouldn't have put it past Microsoft to have been a good option if it weren't for the fact that they're still kind of in a bit of a sticky situation trying to get the Activision stuff through over the finishing line.
Well, I think they were more concerned about being woke rather than making games, weren't they, when they took Activision?
I don't think so. But one thing I did sort of say with EA, what I think should happen is, because FIFA had come out with EA saying, they don't want to renew the FIFA license, and then FIFA put out a press release being all like, well, gamers are going to know that the FIFA game that we're going to make next year, good luck with that, is going to be the best on the market, and the Premier Football, FIFA, the FIFA 23, FIFA name will continue, and people will know it'll be the best option, and it will be great. And it's like, no, even if well, the only people making football games is Konami, really, still. And even if you got Konami to make it, then they're not going to do it. So I thought what would be fun is actually, just fuck it, FIFA, just buy EA, and force them to make FIFA. That'd solve a lot of their problems.
Like I said earlier, I was going through scraping the C64 and the Amstrads and stuff. There are so many football games on those platforms. It's ridiculous how many there are.
Oh, it's
Playing ones and management ones. Just there's a glut of them.
They're all shit.
Probably. We used to play international soccer because we had it on cartridge. You didn't have to wait for it to load.
Whoa. What the future of that? That nothing will beat that one that AD.
Atari football.
Yeah.
With 45-minute
With
halves
actual
and
real,
no chance to change
real-time
it.
football. I wonder if on a PAL system that's been optimized, or if it runs like 17% slower because it's running at 50.
So a game takes you 2 hours. Jesus. I'll let you take the Shenmue one.
So yeah, I just think like maybe we should do that as the next booth thing is I don't know. Well, I don't know whether anyone would give money, into an open guitar case, as they walk past and felt sorry for them, but just make them play that like non-stop endurance run. Do like a whole like World Cup tournament or something.
It'd take more than an expo weekend.
Yeah, they'd have to allow us to stay in the hall overnight. I'd much rather just stand there playing, trying to get a kill screen on Pac-Man. Perfect score on Pac-Man, much easier. But yeah, Shenmue 2. This is David Gyrick again. This is Shenmue 2 prototype details that have emerged. I think that was the gist of it. It sort of goes back a bit on the sort of general history of Shenmue, how it was kind of originally built as like a Virtua Fighter RPG, but then sort of through to quite a bit of sort of concept art, and some interesting Shenmue history. You're at all Shenmue curious, there's a hell of a lot, in fact, of detail. It's like debug menu information, all sorts of bits and pieces, deleted scenes.
That's probably a gender now. Shenmue curious.
There's enough of them out there, and they're all weirdos. So.
Well, here's one sent by me. And again, I wonder if it'll work. It's Indie Retro News again. Let's try it. Oh, this one works. Maybe I've fixed Indie Retro News. And this is Jet Set Willy is getting a full PC scrolling remake, and it looks so cool. And it is, as the name would suggest, it's Jet Set Willy. But instead of it being a room on screen at a time, as you sort of get to the edge of the screen, the whole thing scrolls and you can see the next room where normally you couldn't in Jet Set Willy. There is a video that you can watch. So the person doing it on Twitter is CPL Gaming, at CPL_games. Let me turn the sound off, then you don't hear all that. Been working on a scrolling Jet Set Willy remake. Progress is slow due to limited time, but I thought I'd post a quick vid. And it looks really interesting. It's one of my favourite games. If Simon's still in there, I know he doesn't like it, but it's one of my favourites. The first open world game that I ever played, and I still play it every so often.
I was going to say, is it non-Euclidean? But I don't think that's the right term, is it? I don't
know what you're talking about.
But does the map, like, is it actually
the video that is on the link?
I guess it must
correct.
Do. Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
So so there's no sort of weirdness where you went right off a screen and actually what it would map to is kind of sort of up and right a bit,
Well,
and a
not
bit of
in this
fudginess,
video, because
and then it does
every
all actually.
screen was actually next to each other. Because you can,
Yeah.
I've got a printable map of it somewhere, and you can see the whole layout of the mansion. So every screen is,
So
you
yeah, it
know,
must.
in the
Yeah.
right
So it does all work. So
place.
you just need to take that and I guess put that kind of plan of full map plan into something that an engine that you can scroll around. I mean, unless is it actually making it for
It says for PC.
what's it? Okay, yeah. It's should be fairly achievable.
Yeah, maybe the original systems couldn't load the whole map, although it wouldn't have to load the whole
Um,
thing, would it? It would have to load maybe the next screen in each direction, maybe, or
yeah,
half screen, perhaps. I don't know.
but then it's also sort of making it scroll smoothly and
Yeah, that's true.
constantly.
Yeah, and the C64 didn't scroll very easily, according to Colin Porch from Ocean, who made. What did he make that scrolled? Operation Wolf. He had to put a trick in there to make the screen scroll. I can't
I'm trying to think
remember.
what the
He did
first.
tell me about it. I can't remember. He sort of made the screen move, but then I can't remember. Can't remember. But he faked scrolling anyway.
I want to say I don't know whether anything did have like actual, hardware supported scrolling of tiled screens until the sort of that was the sort of I think the thing that Nintendo did.
How did the Spectrum do the Great Escape? Didn't that scroll?
I don't know.
Isometric game.
I unfortunately don't really know enough about the Spectrum and its how it it commits things to memory and puts them into the display buffer. How it all sort of works.
So one here also flagged as spam called Who Leaked the ROM? And this is from Charlie. Gareth Hamer's just joined us in chat. Don't worry, Gareth, we're going to finish with one of yours. Who Leaked the ROM? And this is a YouTube video. And I believe it's an Atari arcade game. Because I watched it today. It came in today. Marble Madness 2, Atari prototype arcade game, is now playable in MAME. So yes, somebody leaked the ROM. I wonder who as well. But the game is downloadable and playable in MAME.
Oh, looks like it's pretty nice.
It does. It's got. So I'm 12 minutes 49 into the video, and it's got like a mock-up pinball table with flippers and targets and all of that. So it looks like it's a step onwards from the original Marble Madness. So yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Sort of graphically, it looks more polished.
It does. There's more. There's animation on the ball and things.
Love it when my balls are animated.
Hey.
So yeah, finishing off on Gareth Hamer, something I aim to do at some point in my life. He has sent one in, which is the rare footage from Nintendo's 1976 16mm film arcade game Skyhawk Emerges. So there was it last year? There was some film of Wild Gunman that was found, and in a similar vein, they've found this footage, this real footage of a game called Skyhawk, which is you're sort of shooting down fighter planes. Apparently, one game lasts 60 seconds, and if you shoot down 8 or more planes, you get a free game. So I guess it's kind of like the what's the Action Max that had a fighter jet game that was on VHS that you kind of shot at. I don't know how this does the hit detection or anything, this hardware, but it looks a lot cooler than that does, because it's all sort of got that funky. I mean, obviously at the time it wouldn't have been quite so grungy, but yeah, lots of really cool film sort of noise and dirt artifacts on the footage that's been uploaded. But
So there's one here that I found in my links text file that I use, but it's not in the inbox, and I'm sure I sent this. It is a new game, and there's a trailer of it. It doesn't show any game footage that I can see. It looks to be, promo stuff, and I think maybe a trailer. It is RoboCop Rogue City, and it's a teaser trailer. You can find the link in the show notes, even if we can't find it in the inbox. Coming to consoles and PC in 2023. And that rhymes.
Oh.
And Gareth Hamer did join us. Too late, he says. Did I get here late? You most certainly did, Gareth. We've been here nearly 2 hours now. We waited for you for like 10, 11 seconds, but didn't look like you were going to show up, so we started.
How would you like to win a copy of Manx TT on the Sega Saturn?
To win it, you have to type yes into the YouTube chat. Let me drag all those into the archive.
I was about to say, could be a fun game to have, like, whoever's last, like, wins a prize, but then that would just end up with a situation where no one joins news until, like, an hour and 3/4 to 2 hours in, trying to, like, guess when the end of news is.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. He doesn't want it. He sold his last copy.
Oh.
Can't give it away. Can't even
well, you did
give it
away.
I did. But then I had 2 of them, so that's why I gave it away.
Why did you have 2 of them? Now I've got 2 of them.
I think I picked one up somewhere. Forgot I'd picked one up somewhere and picked up another cheap at an expo.
I did that with Uniraces or Unirally on the SNES. I kept getting very tired doing overtime at Sumo. It'd be like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd just be browsing on eBay waiting for a new build to turn up to test. And I kept buying Uniraces on the SNES because I was like, oh yeah, I need to buy that. And then it's like every few months I'd buy a new one. And I'd like play it on my SNES on my desk at work a bit, and then I'd take it home at some point and go to put it in my box of SNES games. I'm like, I've already fucking got this. And just like did it over and over again.
Gareth has just mentioned his prized possession, the finest thing in his collection. Still got his Flashback 2 console from me that's signed, and he needs all the others to sign it. Then he can flog it to buy NFTs, he says. You can't do that. Not with something I've signed. It's worth a fortune, man.
Not sure about a fortune. Probably worth about as much as an NFT's worth these days.
Probably. Well, dear listeners, we are done. We are out of news. Thank you for those who joined us in chat. Thank you, Simon, for your movie review of Top Gun Maverick. Or Top Bollocks. As
Top Bollocks. Maverick Bollocks.
So, yes, we shall join you again, or you shall join us next month. Hopefully there'll be a full lineup of all 4 of us. Scott won't be working. Sparkle won't have the Rona. And we'll all be here for the first time in a while. So until then, thanks for watching. And good night, everyone. Say good night, Random.
Good night, Random.
I knew he was going to do that.
News of the world. News of the world.
Read
all about it. Then take a big shit. Who's of the world? Who's of the world?